then we'll set a background image of a URL, and then let's target to the image. So a ./ will give me access to the assets folder. Then I can tap to get the images folder, and then there's a file here called appointment.jpg. so I want to target that, right? Then I'll save. So I already have the image in here, right? After saving, the image popped up. Now let me apply some background image properties so that the image will be nicely brought into view of the section. So let me come here, and then whilst I apply those effects, you see what is happening to the image. So I'll come here and say background position, background position, and the background position is going to be centered. So let me save that and watch. You can see it moved the image inward a bit, and then background size is cover. We have different options, contain and so on. So now it is nicely brought into view in our page. So you can see we have created make an appointment, and then we have this image here with a text field having these placeholders inside it with this button. Now the button does not, it has just an arrow. We can change that arrow to, and then we also have this nice footer at the bottom. Later we'll create the image galleries inside. Now let's change the buttons effect. So when the cursor of the button would be so down here, there's it. We have an input type of button. That's the one, the section that controls the button. We want to put pointer we have, let's do cursor. The property is cursor, right? And the cursor is going to be a pointer. So when I hover my mouse, you see it changes into a hand, a pointer. Good. So at least this is okay, it's cool for our contact page. Now let's move on to another page. So let's create the about page. Let's create the about page. So we'll close the contact, right? We already have worked on home. I just want to clean the options. I have about page is here, and then we want to open up the app.js, index.js. I don't need it. So now I can double click on the index.css to bring it up. Then we have the about. So let us also erase what we have here for the heading. We'll bring it back. So we have the main container, and in the main container we'll create two different sections. Okay, we'll create a div, and the div would have two sections inside. So div containing section *2, and then it has, that one also contains an h1 element plus a paragraph tag, right? And the paragraph tags are 2. So that contains a paragraph tag which is of *2, right? And then it also have a plus of section which contains an input plus a section. So you can see that interesting. Then I have another div containing, the section contains div 2 *2. So look at what I've just typed here. I don't have to click anything. Other than that, I will lose my lorem the image for that. So I'm creating a single div which contains 2 sections, right? And then each of these sections also contain an h1 plus, which means the plus then means that within the section we also have h1 and then they have 2 paragraphs each, plus another section which contains an input and a section, and that section contains a div, 2 divs inside it. Now when I press the tab key and I save, you can see I have all the layout set like that. So you have to understand the layout, what you are doing, then you can use that effect. So I know it will confuse a little bit unless you type it as I'm doing it. So let me undo all this and do it normally, like the way we do it, right? So please, in order for this not to confuse you, let's do this. So we have a div with a class of about us. So let's do this. So I'm doing .about us. When I tab, it will create the div with a class of .about us. Then I want to create a section with 2 paragraphs. A section with 2 paragraphs and then another section. So it has an h1, okay, and then the h1 is going to be learn more about our work and our cultural activities. And then let me expand this a little bit. So we are now working on about us. So we have the heading there. Now let's create our two P's with a lorem of, let me do a lorem of 100, right? Let me do a lorem of 50 instead of 100. Oh, sorry, let me undo again. So the way I did it is wrong. So I'll do an angle with a lorem of 50. So P star to angle tag greater than sign with a lorem of 50. When I tab and I save, it will create that number of paragraphs for me. There's it. So I can now collapse that and collapse this. Okay, so I have those 2 paragraphs in our main div. So h1, this and that. Then we have a section with a class. So section dot small card dash section. then I'll tab. Okay, so we've created a section with a card, a class name called small card section, and then this section will have also an input of type button, and that will have a value of read more. Then we have a section also with a class of badge icon, the badge icon, and then when I tab, I will have a div with a class of image icon. So it also depends on the design you want to put, but the image icon will contain nothing. It's just a div, right? We will not put anything there. Then we'll come down like this and create another div, and this div will have a paragraph like this. The first one is going to be Mickey Jackson. We are calling it Mickey Jackson, and then the second paragraph is going to be CEO and co-founder. So we have this. Hello. Okay, so now we want to go in and style that, but then we still would have to create the section for the other side. So we'll create another section after this div and then section. So let me make sure we have this set up nicely. So we have just added this whole part in another section, right? So we just selected this whole thing, cut it. After cutting like this, then we created this section, and then we came back and pasted this inside. So we had this wrapped up, all wrapped up with this section, everything wrapped up in one section here. So when I save it, you see it's indented nicely here. So you can see this to that, and that is wrapped in one container. Then we created another section here which also had this wrapped up, all these three elements wrapped up inside it. And we use this to create images, right? We would reference images to it. And then, like we did for the other side, instead of leaving the footer this way, we want to put that footer in a div and then move this footer up. So we'll paste this footer in that div. So we have a div here, a div here. The down one contains footer, the up one contains this section, and this section